Hey gang, hey, I've been getting quite a few questions. Talked to somebody on the phone, and I've gotten a text message or two and a couple of emails about the research project. So I want to take a couple of minutes and just walk through the whole class a little bit about how the setup is for this, and I hope this will make sense. Hey, sorry for the outfit. It's a little cool over here in South Georgia today, and been out throwing hay in the backyard. We've got a couple of horses in the backyard. Girls grew up riding. Margie, she grew up on horses. I'm an asphalt cowboy, but I've learned how to operate on a gravel drive out in the middle of nowhere, and kind of like it. Anyway, so here's the deal behind the research paper. Okay, if you have the syllabus pulled up, great. If you don't, stop the video, go pull up the syllabus, and walk through this with me. And again, I hope this is going to make sense. But when we take a look at it, let me hit a couple of high points on the paper as a whole. You'll see that I've got some Roman numerals here. It's like Roman number 1 is the abstract. Number 2 is introduction. 3 is review of lit and such. I want you to use these Roman numerals, and I want you to use these headings. Don't get fancy and create your own. These are the headings that I want. Two reasons. One, it's going to make it easier on you because the paper is going to be organized in a way that's going to make sense for the class. Second, it's going to make it easier on me because I know what I'm looking at. And if you have something very unique and want to be creative, you can go for it if you want to, but that means I'm going to have to spend a whole lot of time on your paper, and I'm going to read every word and look at every comma. But if it's in the format that I want, I'm going to bounce through that thing. So you just figure out which way you want me to grade it. Okay, that's just kind of a little side note for you. In terms of overall how to go about putting this paper together, first is what I would encourage you to do is start with the review of literature. Okay, start with number 3. Don't worry about the introduction. Don't worry about the abstract until number 3 here. Roman numeral 3 is completed with a review of literature, because what are you going to introduce? The review of literature, that's where you're going and you're just looking through all the information out there. It's where you're going to be developing your ideas. So do that first. Okay, do that first. I'm going to swing back to that. Okay, but do your lit review first. You'll see down in the lit review, so 3A is introduction, and it's a reinstatement of the importance of the functional area. And again, I'm going to talk more about functional area in a minute, but I expect to see a subheading in the review of literature that says introduction. Then I expect a subheading that's going to say review of literature review. Up underneath that, the subheadings, you say points of consideration must include, but are not limited to. So the things that I'm going to look for is there should be a subheading that's going to say history of functional area. That's the heading I'm looking for. That's the one that you should use. The second heading under here is going to say current trends of functional area. Again, that's what I'm looking for. And then the third is functional area supports the development and cognitive growth of the contemporary college student. Again, looking at when you're doing your review of literature, you already have your Roman numerals and subheadings set up, and as you're reading through things, you can mark it 3B1, 3B2, and start stacking your resources either electronically or physical resources that you printed out. You start stacking them up. And so now you're starting to gather your data, taking your notes, writing on a legal pad, and again, making notes of this is going to be 3A, this is going to be 3B1, 3BC, and so you'll start putting your resources together. Once you have done that, then and you've written your review, then you're going to go back, and at that point you'll go up to Roman numeral 2, which says introduction. And in your introduction, it says no less than 350 words. The writer should present an introduction, which includes statement of the importance of the functional area. Again, I'm going to come back to the functional area in a minute. The background of functional area, and then a little summary, just putting that back together. So you got 350 words to introduce the topic. You know the topic now because you've already done your review of literature. You understand what you have, the 3B, 1, 2, and 3, history, current trends, and then functional learning supports development for, as far as cognitive growth of students. So you have that. Now what you're going to do is break that down into a smaller 350 word introduction. Okay, so again, review of lit, Roman numeral 3 goes first. You write that first, get set on that, and feel good about it. Then you go back in Roman numeral 2, your introduction. That's going to be a really microcosm, if you want to say, or a much smaller version of your review of literature. Then is what you'll do is then you'll go up. Let me back down here. Then you're going to go to Roman numeral 4, your conclusions. It says in no less than 1,500 words, writers will share their findings, which should be restatement of the importance of the functional area. Okay, this will be the third time that you said basically the same thing. That's 2 or 3 sentences maybe, but you're going to say, gosh, I already said that. Yeah, you're going to say it again, and it's okay. I'm expecting to see that again in this conclusion. Summary of the review of literature. Okay, again, tell me what you've already told me. All right, this is just how these papers work. Okay, so trust me on it. That's what I'm looking for. And then the writer's opinion. Okay, now the writer's opinion, again, this is where I'm going to start understanding a little bit more about how you critically think about the information that you've just shared with me. And when I say the writer's opinion, this isn't me, I, we. This is the writer discovered. The author believes. So again, stay in third person, but it can be more of, this is the information I have. Now, this is what I think about that information. Okay, so kind of going back through a little quick. Roman numeral 3, do the review of literature. Once you do that, then you can write your introduction, which is a smaller version. Then you write your conclusion, which is all of your thoughts about it. Now we're going to go up to the abstract. Now, abstract, that's Roman numeral 1, but it's actually the last thing that you're going to write. Your abstract, 100 words, 150 words. This is a much smaller version of everything that you had. It's only really a few sentences, and it's gonna tell me, if I'm just looking out here looking for information like you have been looking in your review of literature. Let's say that this is published one day and someone's looking at it. They ought to be able to read that abstract real quickly and say, be able to determine this is the functional area of student affairs, this is what the researcher was looking for, and then this is what they found. So the conclusion, you think that this particular functional area, they ought to be looking at this, and this is what you have found. So really, it's not very long, but you have to write the abstract last, because you don't know what the abstract is going to be until you have done your review, until you've done your introduction, and until you have your conclusion, because your abstract is really 150 word summary of the entire paper. Okay, that's going to get me interested as a reader, as a researcher, to then want to read your entire paper. Okay, now let's back up a little bit and talk more about what the paper's about. This idea of functional area. A lot of you, the questions I've been getting is, I'm looking at a particular topic, maybe about freshman transition in residence life, going from freshman year to sophomore year, and possibly utilizing faculty in residence in the resident hall to help in that transition. That's a topic. That's not a functional area. Functional areas in student affairs are, think about, you have vice president. Okay, that's a functional position, but it's a functional area. The Office of the Dean of Students, that is a functional area that deals with Student Government Association. Dean of Students deals with your conduct, areas, things like that. Career Services many times is located within student affairs. That is a functional area. Sometimes you'll have enrollment management. Sometimes it's a standalone, sometimes it's in academic, sometimes it's in student affairs, and so that would be a functional area. So let's grab one or two. Let's say we're going to look at the functional area, like I was talking to our cohort down in Texas. Hey, Texas, we got 3 great folks over in Texas that are just starting the program together. So welcome. One of our students there is looking at a functional area that may involve career services. they started off, as our conversation started, they had a topic in mind in career services. And we said, no, the functional area is career services. Tell me the history, as we get started with this review, tell me the history of career services overall. Tell me what career services is about, why it's necessary, anything from resume writing to putting together internships or maybe fairs, employment fairs, anything that has to do with that. Give me the history, tell me what's going on, tell me how this is going to help the students, cognitively, professionally, how this is going to help the students. Now, the topic that we were talking about, that topic may be part of that explanation of this is going to help where we understand better that functional area. I was a dean of students for a long time, so the dean of students would be the functional area. The first dean of students ever was at Harvard University. It was called the dean of men at the time, and it was really overseeing the resident halls, and then they started some programming, and it grew out of that. So that's as far as history goes, as far as the dean of students. Through the years, more things have come into the dean of students office, and so it may be, as I'm describing the history of the dean of students, it may be I have a background, an expertise area in behavior intervention teams, and so I may use a topic of behavior intervention to describe the functional area a little bit more in detail of the dean of students office. So the functional areas are, think about positions, think about departments within student affairs, and then you may take some topical types of things and use those topics to help describe in greater detail. I think a great place to put the topic in, possibly a little bit within the review of literature, but in the conclusion, I think this is where some of those topical ideas can come in and help quite a bit, explain whether it be, again, maybe the residence life is your functional area, and you're talking from a standpoint of the director of residence life and doing some programming, and a topic within programming may be safety, fire safety. It could be teaching people how to use a wash machine. It blows your mind how many students come to school and don't know how to operate a wash machine, how to put the amount of soap that they need to put into the washer. The stairs in resident halls understand how much soap, because quite often it overruns and runs down the stairs. So those are cognitive development opportunities that the functional area of residence life uses. So we have a topic describing that functional area, but don't get topic driven on this. This is functional area driven. That's the major point of the paper, is to really dive into one particular functional area. Let's see, trying to think of anything else that may be on there. Again, make sure you use the Roman numerals that I have. It's going to appear to be a little bit repetitive from time to time, and then you'll see the rubric that I'll be using to grade the points that are awarded to each one of the parts of the paper, and some of the things that I'm looking for, such as in the rubric is under review of literature. I'll do a word count, 2,500 minimum words, 15 scholarly resources. Mostly, a newspaper article is going to be okay for this. As you move up, you're only going to be able to use peer review type articles, and newspapers aren't that. But I'm good with this. Magazine, professional journals are great. Some website sources are fantastic too. A mixture of weaving these sources together. When you're doing your review of literature, be careful not to just stack your review. You read an article, so you have a paragraph on this article. Then the next article, you have a paragraph on the next article. Then the next one, you have a paragraph on the next article. And so in your review of literature, you're just stacking paragraphs on top of one another that are from one article to the next article. That should be taken care of when you are doing your lit review. There's history, current trends, functional support areas, and when you're just out there reading and grabbing sources and you start putting these into little stacks, that should help should help you from, or prevent you from stacking the articles into separate paragraphs, because you're going to be looking at the history of the functional area. You're going to be looking at current trends that are associated with it, and then the support and development and the cognitive areas of student development for that. So I hope this helps. Keep shooting me questions and such. I get on the phone. I was talking all the way back from Statesboro. It's about a 4-hour ride, and I felt like I talked to half the class last night on the way while I was driving in, and had a great time. You guys are like better than radio, okay? So give me a holler if you need anything. I'll post this up, and get writing, okay? Get writing. Hey, little side note too, on one of the assignments, you know, about the vet who didn't want to pay the fees, okay? It could be a red herring that the VA's involved at all, because he's out of the Army now, okay? He's not currently in the Army. So Go Army Ed waives fees. Once you're out of the Army, you may be getting VA benefits, but you might not get your fees waived, okay? All right. You guys did a great job looking up the Board of Regents policies and VA policies and such, but most of those revolve around active duty soldiers. Okay? Once you're non-active anymore, most schools don't waive those fees anymore, okay? But you're doing some good work. Keep using Board of Regents, keep using the laws, keep using institutional policies in your answers, because that's what professionals do, okay? Hey, great talking to you. All right, give me a holler if I can do anything for you. All right, appreciate you. Bye.